artist. I went to school for art. As a 5-year-old, I told my mom I wanted to be an artist after I was laying there on the ground with my aunt, who was an art student at Graceland as well. And she had her life drawing book, so there I was on the floor drawing all her life, the nudes as a 5-year-old. And I was taken very seriously. And my mom thought, this kid's an artist. And so I said, I want to be an artist. And she was relieved, because before I said that, I wanted to be a ventriloquist. And so I kind of moved up in her eyes as an artist. And so I did. I took all the classes I could as a kid, and I was into the ceramics world more, and that's what I went to undergrad for, was ceramic sculpture, and grad school for ceramics as well. Always painting as well, but while I was in school, I picked up music, and so the music has kind of been my vein to connect with people a little more immediately and more frequently, but I never stopped working on my artwork. I kind of see it all as tied together. As an artist, a writer, a musician, I feel like I'm just wake up in the morning, drink a cup of coffee, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to work on something. And if the painting well runs dry, I'll be working on poetry, and sometimes I'll pick up the guitar. And so my life has been kind of this juggling act, but during 2020, all my income for music just went out the door, so I was like, I guess I'm a painter today. And so I did a lot of painting, and so while I was doing that, I was approaching painting similarly to how I would approach ceramics. And as a ceramicist, I could wheel throw pots, and I could do large vases and everything, but after they were wheel thrown, I couldn't resist carving on them. I had to carve or sculpt. So a lot of my ceramics were carving away, modeling, putting back on, and as I approach the painting, that's how I approach this kind of technique. Is more approaching it like cutting out the negative space. So what you see is a lot of these shapes are cutting away, and they're like carving on clay for me. And I find it very meditative, and I can get lost in those branches while I'm working on these things, and these forms start taking shape. I kind of know the overall shapes based on the sketch that I had turned in. But even then, I don't know exactly how that light's going to break through the branches. And so I kind of approach the artwork very much like I do my songwriting. As a writer, I will write like 10 songs in a week, and then I'll whittle each one away depending on which one sings the most. And so as an artist, I do the same thing with this. I do these broad strokes, and then I kind of whittle away these different things. And I have to literally step away sometimes just to kind of know if I'm done. And I can get lost in those little shapes, because that's almost the fun part for me. It's just the practice, the process. Thematically, I chose this because I choose a lot of nature when I'm working on art. I go out on walks, and I'm always inspired by nature as a writer and as an artist. So I knew immediately, thematically, it was going to be nature related. But I thought, how can I kind of bring that into a metaphor for a community? So I thought, well, the best thing I could think of was a bur oak tree at first. And then I just thought, well, a large tree. It could be anything, really. But as long as it has large root system, and it has, on the upper branches, it has light peering through the branches, and that could be anything from energy of a community to the spirit of a community, but also the birds, which are kind of like our children, and they're like the songs of your community, and they're the ones that sing, and they'll carry on that song long after the leaves have fallen. So that's the theme of this. So it's called Community Tree. Any questions? Yeah.
I don't really have a question, but I can relate to that, because when we're all little children, we're all playing in the grass, and we all get under a tree and lay down and look up at that tree. from the ground. And this is what that reminds me of. It's very inviting, just as something we see. And just recently, we have a great-granddaughter that lives in Wyoming. I'm assuming her dad took a picture of her in an aspen tree that's in full yellow bloom, and she's blonde. And see, in the middle of this, all these leaves, you see this little blonde-headed girl's face. She is 2 years old. So, again, it reminds me of things like that.
I have a quick question. Where will you hang this beautiful piece?
It's most likely going to be near the fireplace. Yeah, so we have to find beautiful spots for all.
I know.
I know. But luckily we have a beautiful large space to do that in.
Yeah.
You should be able, most likely, to find Chad's piece near the fireplace.
That's on the wood panel wall, right?
Yes.
That would be perfect. Any other questions?
I have a question. When you were talking about carving away, so are you actually removing paint?
No, it's kind of, I start dark to light basically. So I'll work with very dark shapes and then I'll pierce through with the light colors. So those bright colors I'll go gradually. So it'll be kind of a mid-tone at first. Kind of like these right here, off the edges, mid-tones, and then I'll really cut into, and I can kind of create this depth that way. So each layer is another depth, and then eventually I sometimes go pure white, but regularly it's kind of an off-white. But yeah, it's just kind of, it clicked during COVID because I was painting so much. I was painting every day, 8 hours a day, just constantly painting. And I've been painting all my life, but this was one of these things I was like, I think I'll try this. And it just became this way of clicking, going, I've been a sculptor all my life, so this really worked for me, really, so I can work fast, but also it's a matter of that meditative state that I want to reach anytime I'm creating. And so like, when I get into those things, I just know, okay, this is going to be a lot of labor, but I get lost in it, so I just lose time. And that's what, as an artist and a writer, musician, I want to lose time, while I'm doing those things. I want to feel like 8 hours just goes by so fast, and it really does when I'm working on this kind of level. So.
Are we allowed to take a picture of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're going to have high-res photos for where they'll be making prints and things like that. So. Any other questions?
And we will have some time to mingle
Yeah.
with presentations. I suppose this is as good a time as any to mention. We have a lot of food here. There are even more trays at the back. Hometown did a wonderful job. So, when we're done with this, please feel free to, continue visiting. So, thank you, Chad.
Thank you so much. Thank you.